Hi gamers, it's me. I'm back. Oh, I have a camera. It's all set up. Isn't that just crazy? Today we're going to be reacting to a video called Why No One Plays Shulk in Smash Ultimate. So I think this is a very interesting video, and as we can see, it does have a lot of views. So I figure maybe it's half decent. Maybe it brings up something interesting. Maybe it's all full of shit. I don't know, but we're going to find out together. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, join the Discord, and let's go ahead and get into this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Why No One Plays for Smash Ultimate. 2 characters down, another, I don't know, like 20 more to go because apparently everyone and their mothers play Rob these days, but I digress. For today's episode, I want to talk about a fighter who has routinely seen placements in the top 10 for a lot of pro players' tier lists ever since Ultimate's debut in 2018, but has never garnered much of a following in any particular region, which is rather uncharacteristic of a sword fighter, the archetype whose members are well known for being easy to pick up at least on a basic level.
He's a weird sword fighter.
And why he's been struggling to get any representation for the past 3 years and change. I want to clear the air that this video is not a personal attack against any Shulk players. I'm not here
Yes,
to
it is.
bash
It's a very personal attack for Shulk players. How dare you? I'm offended. Everybody should be playing Shulk. Shame on you.
character or you for choosing him as your main. In fact, I'm glad that you do and encourage you to keep doing so. The goal of
No,
all
don't plan on it.
is characters who are unpopular to use by the general player base, whether or not it has anything to do with their performative viability, by analyzing from the viewpoint of those who don't play them, why they don't seem appealing, and hopefully this video can serve to elucidate a few positive traits about their design
Maybe.
and gameplay, so let's find out what those are. Shulk's
Definitely excited to see, what he thinks, what he has to say, because I take it based off of his channel. I don't think he is a Shulk player, so that kind of removes some of that bias. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased towards this because I am a Shulk player, and I can give you a lot of reasons why people don't play this character. Because I mean, I don't blame anybody for not playing him, honestly. But I mean, we'll get more into my opinion, I think, as he starts to go into some more details. So for now, let's just keep going.
played against him would know that he approaches things more dynamically than his peers, starting with his weapon. The Monado in and of itself is not actually a metal blade, rather a conduit for wielding solid energy that changes in form.
I feel like we need to get to the point here. Like, we need to get to the point. Like, why no one can Smash Ultimate? Feels like a much more casual approach. Like, oh, well, this is his game, and people don't know the game, and I'm gonna get more of your watch time by sitting here and showing you the game and all of his origins. Like, okay, we get it. Come on, we're all Shulk players here.
Similar to a light E-chart temporarily but drastically changes his internal properties like weight, ball speed, jump height, ground and air mobility,
Does not change his weight, but I'll let it slide.
damage and kill power and will. Sometimes
Can you imagine just when a Shulk's Monado works, it's just like obesity. I am fat now, I will not die.
knockback also means reduced hit stun as well, making him resistant to combos and kill confirms that would otherwise.
He got all this right for the shield up, but for some reason he still said that it changed his weight earlier, which I think is funny, but not a big deal.
True. Buster Art allows him to dish out high amounts of damage.
At least he's calling them arts and not Monados. So, props to you for that.
In a short like Luigi or Steve, Shield Art can save him from potentially fatal damage. If he's against a fast opponent like Sonic, he can match their speed. There just aren't a lot of matchups, if any at all, that Shulk doesn't have some semblance of an answer to. Prior to the release of
Except Snake. Can't do anything against Snake. That's for another video.
Lilith, Min Min, and Sephiroth, his default moveset had arguably the best non-projectile effective range in the game. He's the most adaptable character in all of Smash Ultimate, as there's no one who can change their stats to such a degree, and if you think about it, Smash Bros is a game really all about stats. Frame data, mobility physics, range, damage output, kill power, etc. Shulk can forcibly siphon his power budget away from one attribute, such as damage, and funnel it into a different attribute, such as defense, or kill power, or mobility. While his Monado arts are invariably his shining virtue, it's also the prevailing reason why his presence in the meta is few and far between. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Shulk is quite possibly Smash Ultimate's most difficult character to master, as he's determinedly 6 different characters packed into one.
See, and people have made this argument for a long time. They're just saying that, like, Shulk is one of the hardest characters in the game, and I'm going to break away for a little bit and talk about that real quick. I think at some point, maybe in like Smash 4 or maybe early Ultimate, maybe you could make that argument. But I think characters like Steve or even, what's the other one? Steve, Kazuya, any of the fighting game characters, Ice Climbers, Peach. Peach is really hard too. I think there's just a lot more characters that have a lot more tech involved, and I think people used to make that argument more in Smash 4 because he had so many different Monado art techs. Like you had landing lag canceling, and you had down art, or what is it? I'm sorry, down air canceled up smash, and you had all these different like techs and weird things that he could do. And while he does still kind of have them in Ultimate, he doesn't really need them. He doesn't really benefit from them as much. So I think honestly, I think at the end of the day, he's kind of just fundamentally just a sword character. Like, you know, he's just the same as if you're playing Ike or Marth or something like that, but the difference is that he just has stat changes, and it's more so the difficulty coming from that. But in terms of actual like fundamental what you have to do, you're just Ike. You're just playing Ike with stat changes. Really all it is. So, and when you're comparing that to even a character like, for example, Peach or Steve, where they have all these weird setups, or Kazi, where we have all these specific setups and inputs and combos, Shulk doesn't have any combos that are more than like 3 hits max. Like, I don't think the actual technical output, I think if anything, if you're going to argue that the character's difficult, I think it more so comes from like being mentally difficult, like making the right decisions, because it's always about decision making with Shulk. And I think he obviously, I'm not like dissing him or anything, because I think he might get into that side, but we'll keep watching for now. But I just wanted to say, I don't think he is the hardest in the game, and obviously that's not his opinion. He's just stating what the kind of the general opinion is about Shulk in the meta. And I personally think there's characters way more difficult than him. But maybe that's just bias because I've been playing the character like since release.
Shulk is one character, Speed Shulk is another, Jump Shulk is another, Shield Shulk is another, Buster Shulk is another, Smash Shulk is another. The moveset remains the same, but his Monado arts alter his attributes to a point where you not only can, but have to adjust how you view their current game state, even if only for a brief moment. Remember, regardless of which form you choose, Shulk divests power from one aspect of his character into another temporarily.
Yeah, and I mean, people say that too sometimes. It's like he's a whole different character depending on which art. It's like, not really. The combos still relatively stay the same. You can maybe get access to, like, I would say Buster is probably maybe the most like influential art in terms of making him like a different character, because his combo game, you know, is just off the fucking skybox. But I think otherwise, I mean, he's still the same character. He still has the same combo, same setup, still same everything. It's just he moves different.
In other words, whichever aspect...
Besides, like, I guess, just the way you mentally... Again, mental, because Smash Bros. Is a mental game. Maybe it more so just changes mentally how you approach a situation as Shulk, depending on which art you're in. But, like, fundamentally, it's still the same thing.
Compromised is now an entirely new vulnerability that a careful opponent can potentially take advantage of to gain the upper hand. It's a double-edged sword. There are 2 common rebuttals I get in response. The first is that Shulk can deactivate his Monado arts at will, so the moment he no longer needs his current one or finds that it's backfiring on him, he can discard it. That is true, but his arts have cooldowns to them. Even if you use it for just a split second, you can't tap into it again for 14 days.
See, and this is always my biggest argument against shield art too, because, I mean, obviously, on paper shield art is, I guess, really broken, but when you realize you do get out of one combo or confirm, you're going to be out of it for almost 20 seconds. And if you use it in the wrong place, you know, if there is counterplay around it. And I think the reason that counterplay towards Shulk hasn't continued to evolve is just because of the lack of his presence in the meta. But I guarantee if we ended up in some weird world where Shulk did become the meta, it wouldn't last for long, because people would learn how to outplay this stuff. It wouldn't take long. I mean, people already have started developing counterplay to it. I mean, you can, theoretically, you can bait out shield art with one combo, and then now that shield art's gone, you have a time frame to get that confirmed, and he's just as vulnerable as any character. Obviously, the threat or the existence of still having that, still being able to do that in general, is still really good. But, you know, it doesn't make him just some unkillable menace. I promise.
18 seconds, depending on the stance. The second rebuttal is that if the trade-off of stats is too high a risk to take, why not just stay in base Shulk? That's also a valid point.
Base Shulk sucks. Shulk without Monado arts is a mid-tier character. Mid-tier. At best.
Shulk wasn't intrinsically balanced around the existence of Monado arts. As mentioned before, each time he activates a stance, he becomes an entirely different character, thus making him a pseudo-transformation fighter like Pokemon Trainer or the Aegis, both of whom are very strong characters as well. Pyra, who has incredible damage output, effective range, and monstrous kill power. She has no trouble finishing what Mithra starts. However, Pyra is much slower. You starting to notice something? That's a lot like Shulk's Monado arts. Mithra has speed and mobility but lacks damage and kill power. Pyra has damage and kill power but lacks speed and mobility. You can never get both at the same time.
And the difference is consistency. Consistency is the major difference here. Because with Pyra Mithra, they have like way better frame data. Even Pyra has way better frame data than Shulk. But you're still getting that like duality of Mithra being fast, high mobility, you know, a little bit weaker damage, but also having really good frame data, because one of Shulk's best kits is being in speed art, but the thing is your damage gets reduced so hard. Even if you start like a, you know, 2 or 3 hit string in speed art, like, wow, I want an advantage, you got like 16% out of it, and it's like, well, what was the point of all that? Because speed art just reduces the damage so badly. Anyways, we'll keep going.
Will be circumstances when you need Pyro's strong attacks to close out a stock, but your opponent is simply too fast or tricky to hit. And even though Mithra has the speed to actually catch them, she doesn't have the kill power to finish the job. Shulk has his very same potential issue dialed up to 11. His base speed is rather slow, so he needs to use speed and jump art to bump up his mobility. His base damage output is rather middling, so he needs buster art to supplement that.
Honestly, I don't think his damage output's bad. I think base Shulk's damage output is pretty good. It's mostly, I just think, yeah, just feeling like you have to be in speed art to win neutral and to like actually succeed in neutral consistently. But then in order to do that, all of a sudden you're like not doing any damage. Like, I think Nair does like, I think 6%, and forward air I think maybe does like 7. I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me on that. But I know that the damage is pretty greatly reduced.
Struggles to kill using his safe attacks, so he needs smash art to bolster his pressure. Unless you're up against a very defensive player, you generally don't want to be in base Shulk except for waiting out cooldowns or saving them for when you need them the most. But every single one of his forms comes with drawbacks. To play Shulk well, you have to maximize those strengths as much as you can while minimizing those weaknesses at the same time.
Yeah, that is kind of a funny thing to think about as Shulk. It's like, you have to always be in an art, and it's like, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to always be in an art, if you just didn't have to? But it feels like you have to, because like I said, it just, vanilla Shulk with no arts, just his base move kit alone, is a very mid-tier character who has, you know, he's just Ike without the kill power and, you know, setups and stuff.
Competitive play, there's one thing pro players value above all else, regardless of the game or genre: consistency. Doesn't matter if it's Smash Bros, League of Legends, Dota, Valorant,
Consistency is always nice, and that is what he just said right there. That is the whole reason. I mean, like, you can end the video right there, because at the end of the day, competitive Smash Bros, any competitive game, like he said, is all going to come down to consistency. And Shulk is the complete opposite of consistency, and that's just due to the nature of his character and why people have always thrown around the word potential around Shulk. Because yes, potentially you could play perfect, and potentially yes, you could just restock somebody every time and just have all the perfect arts, get all the perfect combos confirms, and you're good to go. And that applies for any character. The problem is that Shulk's arts can be abused against him, you know, all the time. Obviously you can cancel them, and you know, it's not detrimental, but it's just a consistency thing. It's just, you know, if you want to get a kill confirm, or if you want to kill somebody early, Shulk has to do that in Smash Art, or he has to get like a crazy edge guard. The only way he can do it. And then you take someone like even Ike, for example. I could do a Nair up air. I didn't have to be in a special art to do that. Or if I want to be Joker, if I have Arsene, that's a huge time window having Arsene. I can just do a down air, up air, down air, back air, whatever. Or, you know, first hit fair into whatever. And I have a way, way larger time frame to do that. So it's just the consistency that in order for Shulk to take a stock, he has to have like the stars aligned. Or to win neutral, he has to have the stars aligned. So it's just a consistency problem, and that's why he'll never be like top 5 in the game or the best character in the game.
He can change arts while on hit stun, he can land counterattacks mid-combo. That's why they had to nerf the thing, because it unironically broke the rules of the game. That is one of the plethora of stupid bull he can whip out he's noticed, courtesy of his range as well. But to do that, you need to have an extremely firm grasp on the character's limits, knowing what to use, how to use it, when to use it, and how long to use it. For a lot of players, that's just too much upfront investment. So
Yeah, it's just like it's not worth it when I could pick up Roy and I have the speed, I have the mobility, I have the kill power, I have the kill combos, confirms, and everything. It's already all laid out for me. And the execution is honestly easier because he has way better frame data. So it's just like, why would a high level player pick that? If they want to win, why would they pick Shulk? When there's just 5 other sword characters that are just more consistent. Are they, in terms of potential, better characters? Maybe not, but they are more consistent. Ike is more consistent. Is he a better character? No, but he's definitely more consistent, and I think, honestly, I think Ike could probably do better more consistently in tournament. We've seen that before, even at the beginning of the meta. You know, with the beginning of Ultimate, Leo was just wrecking everybody's shit as Ike. Or now he's using Byleth. Byleth is a more consistent character than Shulk is, and is he as good on paper? Definitely not. But that's just kind of how high-level play works.
There is one smaller but important secondary contributor to his low representation. He's kind of uncomfortable. There are many characters in the game who turn away prospective players due to their handling, but I'd wager Shulk is one of them. His moveset is infamously slow, as aside from jab, vision,
True.
and standing grab, none of his attacks come out in less than 10 frames. Giving him some of the worst
Very true.
frame data among the entire roster. Even heavyweights like Bowser, King K. Rool, and DDD have moves that come out rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This is some...
And this actually was, and we'll see this when I do my matchup chart too, like, Shulk unironically like struggles against heavies, and he shouldn't, and it's so stupid because the heavies like have the same amount of range because they're so massive, but then they just have better frame data, and it's like, how is this? I mean, like, obviously Shulk's hitboxes are disjointed where Bowser's are not, but still, it's just like goofy to think about, you know?
Technique that can alleviate this, known as Monado art landing lag cancel, which lets you bypass this in some ways. But the fact that he has such high landing lag by default makes his attacks all feel like they're way clunkier than they should be. Why this matters?
Yeah, landing lag cancel is, it's just irrelevant in Ultimate. It's just irrelevant because his landing lag has been reduced greatly from going from Smash 4 to Ultimate, and you know, it is a lot better. I really don't think it's the landing lag that's the issue with Shulk. It's definitely just the startup at this point. Landing lag is really not a problem because, what is it? Gosh, Nair has like, I think 2 frames of landing lag or something. Like, it's not even funny. Like, it's super low. It's just the startup that's the problem, is where Shulk is really struggling right now. And landing lag canceling is still a thing, but the execution is super, super tight compared to what it used to be, because when in Smash 4, when you would pick an art, it would go like, so let's say you're doing with speed art, so you go jump, speed, it'd sit there for a second, and then it would activate. But now, even if you're doing it like by the, you know, the B button presses, you'd be like jump, speed, boom, activates, and it's like, whoa, I didn't get a chance to land yet. So it's just kind of hard, and I think you can, again, you can do it with the dial, but it's just like, execution's just not even worth it when his landing lag isn't really a big deal. It's really the startup that's where he's struggling, and unfortunately there's no tech for that.
Intuitive for a lot of players. On top of that, the added challenge of micromanaging his various arts is more often seen as a hindrance than a help, since you'll have to keep those in mind on top of everything else there is to think about during a match. That just means more things that can go wrong. This may sound familiar to those who recently watched my episode on Sheik. Unlike her though, Shulk's problems don't stem from how uncompromising he is to play. Quite
the difference between Shulk and Sheik, though, is that, like, we had the start of the meta where Shulk started up here, and as time has gone, he's just slowly been decreasing. Sheik has been the opposite. She started down here at the start of the meta, and she's just been going up ever since. Sheik is really good. She's really good now, and she's definitely more consistent because I don't have to be in a 5-second art to execute my combos. I only have a 5-second window to do them.
If you want to maximize his efficiency, it takes a lot of work to get used to him, not just his Monado arts, but how he feels to play. What this means is that Shulk cannot be used as a secondary. He's either your main character or not at all, because you have to put so much time and dedication into using him as opposed to using a more beginner-friendly sortie like Roy, Cloud, or even his fellow series companions Pyra and Mithra. That being said, the few who do step up to the plate will be graced with the fighter, quite literally unlike anything they've ever seen. So that's going to be it for today. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Shulk in the comments down below, including if you believe I missed any significant factors as to why so few players use him. Aside from that, if you...
Yeah, I don't think he missed anything. I mean, I think that pretty much hit most everything. I mean, it really just comes down to consistency, and that, you know, mentally he's very hard to play. I think another thing, in my opinion, is that his neutral is pretty one-dimensional. I think that's probably the only thing he could have mentioned. Obviously, I don't think that's not something really people think about unless you are a Shulk player, is you realize just how linear his neutral is, because all you do is press neutral air. You approach with neutral air. You get people off of you with neutral air. Somebody, you know, is just like, you just use neutral air all the time. That's just his character. You can forward air, you can space with back airs, you know, every now and then, but majority of his meta just comes down to going into speed art, nairing around, go to buster art, nair around, or maybe fish for a grab to get some kind of confirm started, and then you go to smash art. I mean, like, there is this kind of a set game plan with him. Obviously things change depending on if you're an advantage, disadvantage, you have a lead, don't have a lead, whatever, it's all situational. But his game plan is, I think, honestly really simple. All he's doing is fishing for nairs, and if you play around nair, like if you know how to consistently parry nairs, or just, you know, play around them, don't get hit by them, killing them consistently, not falling for like mix-ups and stuff, like, Shulk cannot, like, he can't hit you. He can't. It's super frustrating because I've had matches where I'll just sit there and I'm nairing, trying to start something, or I'll even, you know, mix up trying to poke him away with back airs, like, you know, just all these different mix-ups, or I'll try to go for tomahawk grabs and do all these things, but it doesn't matter because they just block every attack I throw out because I have to approach, because I don't have a projectile. I don't have, you know, super safe moves that I can just commit. So I think that's just also something that I think a lot of people aren't really considering when it comes to Shulk. It's just how predictable I think he is. And obviously that only comes with people who, you know, are more experienced with the matchup, because a lot of people who, you know, may have, I can tell when I go to a tournament, or if I go, you know, on Elite Smash, I can tell if they've fought Shulk before. You can tell, because if they haven't fought Shulk before, they're just going to let me constantly hit them with nair for free every time. They just get naired, and then they get naired, and then they get a forward air, you know, and then they get ledge trapped forever by a forward air, and then it's just like, yeah, you don't know how to play against this character. I can tell almost immediately. When they do know how to play, it's just like, wow, I can't do anything. I'm just stuck sitting here. I can't approach. Shulk's approach options are surprisingly kind of mid, unless you're in speed art, and where you can pretty much just get away with nairing in somebody's face for almost for free, unless they parry. But yeah, I think that was a really good video. I think that covered a lot of important things, I think, as to why people don't really play Shulk. So make sure to subscribe to his channel. What was it? It was Vars3. Go subscribe to him. Also subscribe to me, because I gave also important insight that you care about. You definitely care about, right? That's why you're watching this, and that's why you're even this far. So make sure to subscribe to both of our channels. Leave a like, leave a comment about your thoughts. If you'd like to see a video maybe talking about how to beat Shulk and just kind of how to approach him if you aren't a Shulk player, you know, how to beat Shulk. If you want to see a video like that, let me know in the comments. Leave a like, show your support. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, I'm going to get started on my next video. You guys take care. Bye.